In the bustling streets of London, where ancient traditions stand tall against the rush of modern life, a single act of kindness can ripple through history like a warm breeze on a cold day. Imagine a world where stern faces hide untold stories, and one man's genuine smile uncovers the humanity beneath the uniforms. This is the tale of Captain Elias Thorne, whose heartwarming inspections at the Horse Guards Parade turned rigid duty into moments of shared joy, reminding us all that even in the most formal settings, a smile can bridge hearts and heal old wounds. Captain Elias Thorne stepped onto the crisp gravel of Horse Guards Parade on a foggy autumn morning in 2022. At 35 years old, he was the youngest captain ever assigned to oversee the King's Guard, a role steeped in centuries of unyielding protocol. The guards, dressed in their iconic red tunics and bearskin hats, stood like statues, their faces trained to show no emotion. Elias had grown up in a small village in Wales, where his father, a retired soldier, taught him that true leadership came from the heart, not just commands. As he approached the line of 20 guards, his boots crunching softly, he felt a mix of nerves and excitement. The air was thick with the scent of polished leather and horse manure from the nearby stables. Instead of the usual barked orders, Elias paused before the first guard, Private Jameson, a tall man with a scar on his cheek from a forgotten training accident. "Good morning, soldier," Elias said with a warm smile that crinkled his eyes. Jameson blinked, his rigid posture holding, but a flicker of surprise crossed his face. Elias continued down the line, inspecting buttons, belts, and boots with careful eyes, but always adding a personal touch, a nod, a quiet word of encouragement. By the time he reached the end, the fog had lifted slightly, revealing the grand archway of the Horse Guards building. The horses in the background neighed softly, as if sensing the shift in the atmosphere. That evening, as Elias reviewed his notes in his small office overlooking St. James's Park, he wondered if his approach would be seen as weak by his superiors. But he believed in building trust. Little did he know, his smiles had already planted seeds. Private Jameson, who had been struggling with homesickness after a recent deployment, felt seen for the first time in months. The next day, during drill practice, Jameson shared the story with his bunkmates, and whispers spread through the barracks like wildfire. Elias's method wasn't about breaking rules. It was about honoring the men behind the uniforms. As weeks passed, Elias made it a habit to learn something about each guard. He discovered that Sergeant Mills had a newborn daughter, and during one inspection, he asked about her with genuine interest. Mills's stoic face softened just a bit, his eyes lighting up as he murmured a quick response under his breath. The inspections became more than routine. They turned into quiet exchanges of humanity. One rainy afternoon, as Elias smiled through the downpour, a young recruit named Harris, who had joined to escape a tough family life, found the courage to stand taller. The captain's encouragement felt like a lifeline in the sea of discipline. The Horse Guards Parade, with its historic white buildings and the distant hum of tourists beyond the gates, began to feel alive in a new way. Elias's smiles weren't forced. They came from his own past, where a kind word from a teacher had pulled him through schoolyard bullies. Now he passed that on, turning the parade ground into a place where duty met compassion. Captain Elias Thorne's routine inspections evolved into something the guards anticipated, though they'd never admit it openly. One crisp winter day, with snow dusting the ground like powdered sugar, Elias arrived early. He noticed Guard Thompson shivering slightly in the cold, his breath visible in the air. Instead of a reprimand, Elias shared a quick story from his own early days in the Army, when he nearly froze during a night watch. Thompson's lips twitched into the faintest smile, hidden under his bearskin hat. As Elias moved on, inspecting the gleaming sabers and spotless boots, he felt the group's energy shift, less tension, more focus. Word reached the stables, where the horses of the household cavalry were groomed daily. Elias extended his warmth there too, patting a black stallion named Orion, whose rider, Corporal Lee, had lost a close friend in service. "He's a fine beast," Elias said with a grin, and Lee nodded, opening up about his grief for the first time. The captain listened without judgment, his smile a silent promise of support. By midday, as the changing of the guard ceremony began, tourists gathered behind the barriers, cameras flashing. They noticed the subtle difference. The guards seemed more alert, their marches crisper, infused with quiet pride. Back in the barracks that night, the men gathered around a steaming pot of tea. Private Jameson, now more vocal, recounted how Elias's approach reminded him of his grandfather's wisdom. Strength isn't in the shout, but in the steady hand. Laughter echoed softly, a rare sound in those halls. Elias, unaware of the chatter, walked home through the lit streets of Whitehall, thinking of ways to foster more team spirit. He planned a small, unofficial gathering for the guards' families, knowing that behind every uniform was a life full of dreams and struggles. As spring approached, buds appearing on the trees in nearby parks, Elias's influence grew. During one inspection under a bright sun, he complimented Guard Patel on his impeccable polish, learning that Patel's family had immigrated from India, carrying stories of resilience. The smile Elias offered sparked a chain reaction. Patel later helped a fellow guard with drill tips, strengthening their bond. The horse guards, once a symbol of rigid tradition, now hummed with underlying warmth, proving that leadership could be both firm and kind. The heartwarming smiles of Captain Elias Thorne began to draw quiet attention beyond the parade ground. In early summer 2023, a journalist from a local paper sneaked a photo during an inspection, capturing Elias's genuine grin as he spoke to Guard Wilkins, a veteran nearing retirement. The article, titled "Smiles at the Guard," went viral on social media, showing the human side of the King's Guard. Tourists flocked in greater numbers, hoping to witness the smiling captain. Elias, modest as ever, downplayed it in his reports, focusing instead on the guards' improved morale. One sweltering July day, with the sun beating down on the white stone, Elias inspected the line amid the clatter of horse hooves. He noticed recruit Evans looking pale, battling a recent illness. With a reassuring smile, Elias adjusted Evans's collar gently and whispered, "Take it easy today. We've got your back." Evans straightened, gratitude in his eyes. Later, during a break, the guards shared stories of their own, tales of deployments, family joys, and hidden hobbies like painting or playing guitar. Elias joined in, revealing his love for hiking in the Welsh Hills, bridging the gap between ranks. The stables buzzed with activity as grooms prepared for a royal event. Elias visited, smiling at the horses and their handlers, learning about Orion's quirky habit of nuzzling for treats. Corporal Lee, now more open, thanked him for the earlier chat, saying it helped him process his loss. As evening fell, with the Thames reflecting the sunset, Elias reflected on how his simple acts had fostered a sense of family. The guard's performance sharpened, errors dropped, and even the horses seemed calmer under the positive vibe. Amid the growing buzz, Elias received a commendation from higher-ups, not for breaking protocol, but for enhancing unit cohesion. The Horse Guards parade, framed by its elegant arches and flags fluttering in the breeze, stood as a testament to change, one smile at a time. As the story of Captain Elias Thorne's inspection spread, it inspired small changes across other units. In autumn 2023, with leaves turning golden in St. James's Park, Elias led a special inspection for visiting dignitaries. The guards, now accustomed to his style, held their positions with renewed vigor. He smiled at Sergeant Mills, asking about his daughter, who had just started walking. Mills's brief nod carried volumes of appreciation. The dignitaries noticed the warmth, commenting on the guards' evident pride. A challenge arose when a new recruit, Harris, struggled with homesickness during a long shift. Elias, during his rounds, shared a smile and a story of his own early doubts, encouraging Harris to write letters home. It worked. Harris perked up, his steps firmer. In the stables, Orion whinnied as Elias approached, nuzzling his hand. Corporal Lee had trained the horse better, crediting the captain's influence for his own improved focus. Evenings brought team-building moments, like shared meals where laughter replaced silence. Elias organized a hike for off-duty guards, trekking through nearby countryside, where bonds strengthened over campfires and stories. Back at the parade, inspections flowed smoothly, with tourists capturing videos that highlighted the heartwarming interactions. One video showed Elias adjusting a guard's hat with a kind grin, amassing millions of views and comments praising the blend of tradition and humanity. Through winter's chill, Elias's approach weathered storms. A heavy snowfall blanketed the ground, but his smiles cut through the cold. Guard Thompson, once reserved, initiated a conversation about his upcoming wedding, seeking advice. The captain's genuine interest built trust, turning the unit into a supportive network. As the year turned, the King's Guard shone brighter, their duties performed with heart, all sparked by one man's authentic warmth. Captain Elias Thorne's legacy at the Horse Guards deepened in 2024 as his heartwarming style became a quiet standard. On a bright spring morning, with birds chirping overhead, he inspected the line amid preparations for a royal parade. Smiling at Private Jameson, now a mentor to recruits, Elias noted the scar on his cheek as a badge of honor. Jameson returned the smile subtly, a sign of growth. A touching moment unfolded when Guard Patel's family visited. Elias greeted them with warmth, sharing tea and stories of cultural ties. Patel's mother hugged him, tears in her eyes, thanking him for treating her son like family. The stables echoed with similar sentiments. Handlers like Lee organized horse rides for Guard's children, fostering joy. Orion, the stallion, became a favorite, his gentle nature mirroring the unit's shift. Challenges persisted, like a grueling training exercise in pouring rain. Elias led with encouragement, his smiles rallying the tired men. Recruit Evans, fully recovered, excelled, crediting the captain's support. Social media buzz grew, with fans dubbing him the Smiling Captain, leading to interviews where Elias humbly emphasized the guard's hard work. In summer's heat, inspections included hydration checks, with Elias personally ensuring everyone's well-being. Bonds extended to community events where guards volunteered, their smiles drawing crowds. As autumn leaves fell, Elias reflected on the journey, from nervous beginnings to a united team. The Horse Guards Parade, with its timeless grandeur, now pulsed with life, proving kindness elevates duty. The culmination of Captain Elias Thorne's impact unfolded in late 2024 as the King's Guard prepared for a major ceremony honoring veterans. On a clear November day, with flags waving proudly, Elias conducted his inspection with the same heartwarming smiles that had transformed the unit. He paused at Guard Wilkins, the veteran, whispering congratulations on his retirement. Wilkins's eyes glistened, a rare emotion breaking through. The ceremony drew crowds, including families and dignitaries. Elias's approach shone as guards performed flawlessly, their confidence evident. Afterward, in the barracks, toasts were raised, not just to duty, but to the captain who saw their humanity. Jameson organized a surprise, a plaque engraved with "Leadership with Heart," presented amid cheers. In the stables, Lee and Orion stood as symbols of change. Lee promoted the horse thriving. Elias, walking home under starry skies, knew his time there might end soon with a new assignment, but the seeds of kindness would endure. Guards like Harris and Patel carried the lesson forward, mentoring others with similar warmth. Years later, stories of the smiling captain lingered at Horse Guards, inspiring new generations. Tourists still sought glimpses of that magic, where tradition met compassion. Elias's legacy reminded all that in a world of rigidity, a simple smile could forge unbreakable bonds, turning guards into brothers and duty into delight.